Afternoon, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. We'll get started here in just a minute or so. Oh, stop transcription here. Okay, and I actually remembered to start recording, so that's good. All right, looks like it's 4 o'clock. What's happening, cohort? Move my transcript here. Thanks for dropping by. We'll start with a couple admin things. So this will be our third week in fuel school. Hello, everyone from the fuel shop. I wasn't going to do introductions this time. Do you think we should, or are we good? I think we're good. I'm getting the thumbs up. Welcome back, Ruby. Let's see. First thing I want to show is the schedule. Just to let everybody know where we're at. Where'd that screenshot go? Ow. I can't see it. No, well, let's see if I can share it on the Excel. So today we're gonna, yeah, okay, hopefully it'll show it. Try to zoom in here. All right, so today we're gonna be talking about element 2A. Maybe you can see that. Yeah, today we're gonna be talking about element 2A. I've got some guest speakers, Scott, Mandy, Chance, and Ben. I haven't seen whether you guys are all on or not, but if you are, can you please come on screen so I can see you? And then next week, Robin is up for talking about some capacity expanding tools via agreements and other mechanisms. And then after that, we'll get to 401 qualified. The week after that, FTEM, how to make a map, and then COR, Mandy's going to come back for that, and then air curtains and char bosses. So that's where we are at. And get rid of that. Okay. So without further ado, I think I've stopped sharing. All right, so appreciate you guys jumping on. Do we have did Ben and Chance join us as well too? Yeah, I see Ben there, and I just want to make sure see if Chance got on. I'm not seeing him. That's all right. If we at least get 3 out of 4, we'll be good. All right. So the purpose today is to talk about the element 2A. So you might recall that in our National Prescribed Fire Program review, we had some changes. One of those changes was enhancing the communication with agency administrators and improving and enhancing the interactions that agency administrators have. One of the ways that they wanted to do that was to get rid of the old agency administrator pre-ignition checklist or authorization form. It used to be able to be approved up to a year, but they changed that and brought it down to a day. I think it's 24 hours in advance, and that's just to force that communication. So a lot of folks in the region and across the nation have taken different approaches to how to do that. So we thought we might highlight that because one of the things that we know is that people have done different things across the region, and whenever there's new innovative processes and techniques, it's a good thing to talk about. So I thought that's what we did today. So I've asked each one of these 4 to talk for about 5 to 7 minutes just about their process, and then hopefully do some sharing. So without further ado, we'll start our presentation. If there's any questions, put it in the chat. I got both of you guys up. Mandy, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I can start off here. I'll try to share the this is actually a form that Ben off the Six Rivers created. And can you guys see that?
Absolutely, looks great.
Okay, so basically this is we kind of just edited the standard 2A, which is down here below. We made it PDF fillable. And then the first page, it's not really any extra information. It's just stuff that you have to document anyway. And I thought it was really cool to just document it all in one place. It was got the, PL levels, gap levels, all that stuff. So it's just kind of just one place to get all that information. kind of together, and then it's super easy to file, and you have that. We've even got down here where line officer, visiting the fire line available on the unit, which we're supposed to be documenting. There's for high complexity burns, they have to be on the burn, and then for moderate complexity burns, they're supposed to be on the unit. And we're supposed to be documenting that and making sure they're there for the appropriate percentage of the time. So this just helps document that. We only have one qualified AA on the forest, but he really likes it because it's a super easy briefing tool. He can look it over. If we're doing pile burning, you can just type in here and say, hey, hand piles 4 inches of snow on the ground. No spread beyond the pile expected. That paints a good picture for them. Or if you've got some more complex stuff, you can list some values at risk, and that gives them a better essay to know what they're signing. Also, resources for holding and contingency. We actually type these out. So like, MODOK engine 344, 345, Tahoe hot shots. That way they know, they have a really clear picture of what we've got on scene, and they can be like, okay, cool, there's a lot of values at risk up here, but you've got a lot of holding resources already identified. So that can make them feel good about that. And then the duty officer signs it down here, so saying that those resources are actually available. Because I think we've probably all run in that a time or two where you're told the day before, oh yeah, you're gonna have this, you're gonna have that, and then they don't show up out there. So this is just kind of a way to document that those resources are going to be available. So the burn boss fills it all out, signs it. Your zone or district duty officer or FMO signs it, and then you answer the questions down here, and then here's the normal signature blocks. Burn boss signs it, duty officer signs it, the AA signs it, and then line officer concurrent. So if we make the ranger sign it too, even though they're not qualified line officers, just because they're still responsible for what happens on their district. So they sign it. We just email it back and forth. We've been toying around with better ways to improve that. I know some people are able to sign stuff like on their iPhones or iPads. I can, other people can't. So that we've been trying to work through that, the actual signing process. But overall, it's been well received here on the forest, and I'm happy to share it. And that's kind of what we do to document that. Also, just as Stephen said, that this process was meant to promote communication, conversations with the burn boss, the AA, and the other folks. So I try to stress to all the burn bosses on the forest here to don't just email this thing out the morning of the burn or the night before and have them be caught off guard. Email them or have a phone call or have the fuels officer or somebody reach out a week or so, 2 weeks before, and just give them a heads up. Hey, we're going to be thinking about burning. I'll give you a heads up, as we get a little bit closer. And then just another kind of like I text the forest soup and just say, hey, we're going to be sending you a 2A tomorrow. Make sure you look for that. And that's what they know to check their email first thing in the morning before they get too busy. So that's how we kind of do things here on the MODOK.
I appreciate it. I forgot to ask you to introduce yourself too. I didn't introduce you. Did you want to?
Yeah, sorry, Mandy Schoaf. I'm the Forest Fuels Officer up on the MODOK.
We're all friends here, but some people might want to get a hold of you. Thank you for that. I have questions, but I'm going to hold the questions towards the end. We'll just do that for everybody. Thank you for that very much. Well, Scott, you're already up. You want to go ahead and go next?
Yeah, sure, Stephen. All right, everyone, and good evening or afternoon. I'm Scott Grasmick. I'm the Forest Fuels Officer on the Cleveland, and we do something similar to what Mandy does up on the MODOK, but we have a PDF formatted element 2A, and the burn boss or the trainee will start to fill this out, and in his notification process, he'll make contact with the AA, depending on what district it is. We're kind of lucky on the Cleveland where we've got 1 high complexity, 2 moderate complexity, and 3 low complexity AAs on the forest. And so as they go through this conversation, they will set up an appointment with the appropriate AA. Lately, it seems like it's been more of a teams meeting. And if we've got multiple burns going on a couple districts, we'll usually tie those two AAs together. Or if it's the same AA, we'll get all the burn bosses coordinated on one call, and then that AA can go to each burn boss and address the questions. But same kind of format, goes through the drought index, goes through the questions, is easily signed, digitally signed on the PDF form for the burn boss, the duty officer, the date, and then the AA. And if it's a different ranger, we have some trainees who are still going through the process. So there'll be the concurrence of the line officer in that local district, and then the forest supervisor might be the acting A for that burn. And then in conjunction with that, we have a form that we need for our RX notification form that we send out to our cooperators and to the GAC. It's got the project specific information of, project name, date, who the AA is, the start time, burn boss and trainee phone number, our AQMD control number, depending on what air basin we're burning in, descriptive location, lat and long, the elevation, is it understory or hand pile, the complexity, and then the total acre size. And we have a additional notification block if there's any additional notifications to be made. Each district has a default text group that has that AA in there, the line officer, the fire chiefs, etc., that want to be notified of any updates on the burn. And as things are called into dispatch by our burn bosses, it gets pushed out into a text group. And then we have the resources for the day, night shift contingency, and then any post-burn information that we need to do. And this gets sent off. It's to be in our dispatch office by 1700 the evening before the burn, so it can get pushed out to the GAC so they have it for their notification process as well. So I think that's what I got, Stephen.
Well, that's great. Cool. Thanks, Scott. I have a question for you as well, too, but I'll hold it. Thank you for sharing that. Ben, you, sir, are next. Thank you.
Yeah, hey all, Ben Hendricks. I'm one of the deputy fire staff here on the Six Rivers, Chief 3, and I guess Forest Fuels Officer. I don't qualify for the 401. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. So we are doing a thing really similar to what Mandy showed, except we run a AA briefing too. So our forum's called the AA briefing and 2A. So we didn't want it to be just something that just gets mailed around. In the spirit of the prescribed fire review, some of the things that were lacking were communication and whatnot. So we actually have to do a briefing, but it's usually on Teams. So what I've got is we run it kind of like a planning meeting. It's got a script. So we've got a roll call with some required attendees, the burn boss, district duty officer, unit duty officer, dispatch, and the AA or line officer if it's not the AA, and usually that's the district ranger. We want the district ranger on the call too if we can possibly get them. And then any other guests. And they provide any updates. They go quickly over the spot forecast, and then we're looking at, are you in prescription, right? We're definitely looking at that. And then the plan for the shift, resources, whether or not it's adequate, any questions from all parties, and then we go around the horn for concurrence, just like a plan meeting, support the plan or not. And then at that point is when we send around the form. And so the form's already pre-filled out before the meeting. And so here's an example of one that's filled out. It's exactly what Mandy's using too there. She might have tweaked it a little bit, but it's got all that same stuff. It's got the front page. It's got all your information. It's got information about the prescription, whether or not we're in prescription. And this particular district, this burn boss runs a behave run every time. So we know what the change per hour requirement is, and then whether or not we're meeting that based on the resources he's committing. Same signature blocks, discussion items, and then on the attachments, it allows you to paste the general forecast into it, and then your spot weather forecast into it. And that just really helps me. I don't have to go and look and see if these guys pulled a spot weather forecast. I know you guys are all fuels folks, and you stick to your guns, and you always pull a spot weather forecast, right? So I don't have to check that because here it is right on this form. And then also there's a spot where they can paste their vicinity map or the map of the units in there too. So myself, dispatch, none of us have to really scratch our heads about where it's at. It's all right there, neat and tidy in that briefing. And this gets passed around, everybody signs it, and then they file it in their burn documentation out on the district. That's it. That's what we do.
All right. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. That's cool. I think our last speaker was Chance, but he must be out on a burn or something, so don't worry about that. So we'll open it up just a little bit for some questions. I'll kick it off. I did have one question, Mandy, with your form. I noticed at the top left that there was a drop down for the district. I'm just curious if people did get that form or whatever, how hard would it be to change that default drop down, especially since it's PDF? Do you have any idea?
It's super easy. You just go to prepare form, and when you go to prepare form, you can find that block, and you can just change. It opens up another window, and you can just type the stuff in there and change the order. So it's really easy. You got to have Adobe Pro or the higher version of Adobe. But if you have that, it's just prepare form, and it's really easy.
Copy that. I did not know that. It's good to know. Yeah, some people have that Pro and some people don't. I feel like there was somebody. Okay. Again, hey, since I got you, actually another question. You noticed that you had the agency administrator on site or not. Are you guys actually tracking that afterwards, or I'm curious if anybody actually is even tracking that.
I mean, we're supposed to be, right?
We are,
But
100%.
yeah, it's not an issue for us. He's usually on site. Like he usually comes out, and I have to find a drip torch for him so he can go burn with everybody else. So he's pretty involved on the type 2 burns. So yeah, he's usually a support supervisor. He usually comes out to all the burns, but that was just something, they put that in the prescribed fire review. I forget the percentage, but we're supposed to track it, and no one we were like, well, who's going to check that or whatever. But if we check it on here and we ever get audited or something, we can just pull all these forms and go off of that. So that was just something we came up with, or thought it was a good idea to use.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's cool that you incorporated that. Thank you. Scott, I had a question for you. You included that RX notification sheet. Is that a South Ops specific sheet, or did you do that of your own volition?
Well, we had our own notification form for dispatch, and then when the GAC got into the prioritization business, I should say, this year, we kind of all came together as a zone, and each force kind of sent their notification form to the GAC, and that's the one that they created. And so it's the standalone that I think South Zone is using for the GAC notification process.
Okay. And is there anything similar to that in North Ops? Some of you North Ops folks, is there a pre-burn notification form? I'm just wondering if that's South Ops only. Yeah.
Now, what we do, Stephen, is we tell them, we kind of tell them where we're burning and how much on the Thursday afternoon call, and that I don't want to speak for North Ops or Anthony, but that seems to be sufficient. We were in the years past, we were remember, Stephen, I think it was about 2 years ago, we used to have to get permission all the way up from, I believe, Jaime before we could burn, right? So we would send an email with all that same information that Scott has on his form, which would have been a lot more handy to just fill out a form back then, before we would burn, and everybody would have to say concur on the email, and now we covered that through I feel like we cover it through that Thursday afternoon call at 1400. We say what we're going to burn and kind of where and what resources we're going to commit off of the forest. And if they've got more questions, they'll give us a call. But yeah, they're pretty chill.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree that 1400 Thursday call has helped to see what we're doing across the region. And then we also have to report that up to the national office, who apparently reports it up to the White House every Friday. So it's actually very helpful in that regard. So, all right, very good. So then I guess just one question for the panel, and then I will open it up to if anybody else has any other questions. There is a question from Michael that from Mr. Seymour that asked if we'd be able to share our forms. I know some of the panelists I talked to here said they might be willing to share their product. I'll leave that up to them if they are, and we can get that into the files with the rest of the stuff. So I guess my question just for the group is I'm wondering how your process has been. Like, how did it go briefing the burn bosses on your forest with this new process, getting your agency administrators to get to this new process? Was there a lot of friction with that? Was it relatively easy to adopt? Just kind of curious how it went in that regard. I'm going to open that up to any of the three of you.
I guess I'll go first, Stephen. No, I think everybody bought into it. We kind of came up with this whole protocol, talking it out during the actual review meetings that we had with the forest supervisor when we were all going through that about 2 years ago. So, and then we just kind of tweaked it as we've gone, feedback from them. And I think it just comes down to which AA is, some of them like a phone call and a briefing over the phone. Others want to do it on Teams and bring out the maps and stuff. I think it's just all comes down to their comfort level and what they want to get from their bosses as they're going through the process.
Copy that. Whether you two want to comment on that or no?
Yeah, it's been a little bit more of a challenge for the type 3 burn bosses because you're burning in the snow and it's day after day after day, and there's very there's low risk of immediate fire spread and stuff like that. So we've been a little bit of a challenge, just kind of expressing to them that, yeah, I know it seems silly, but it is that there is a reason why we got here, and we can't just mail it in. We still have to have those conversations. It's another thing you got to do, but don't just fill it out and email it without making a phone call or reaching out to the AA, because it is all about process. And those folks are going to be type 2 burn bosses one day. So I always tell them, just get your processes down when you're a type 3 burn boss. It'll make you a better type 2 burn boss. So yeah, it's been fine. And then like I said, we only have one qualified AA for RX to deal with. So he's super receptive, and if he's going to be out of pocket, he reaches out and is proactive with getting a backup and stuff like that. We have used an off forest AA once or twice, but the AA interaction's been very, very well.
Cool. Well, that's good insight. Thanks, Mandy. Ben, did you have any comments, or do you want to move on to questions?
For us, it was well received. It was a little bit bumpy at first, hence why we had to come up with that script to run it more like a planning meeting. The meetings were getting a little bit long-winded, and the burn bosses themselves complained about how long-winded they were, but yet they were the ones that were going into a little bit too much detail. And so, I was like, hey, let's stick to the script, and you can get it done in about 10 to 15 minutes, depending on the complexity and how many questions folks have at the end. But yeah, it's good though. I mean, it's good practice, like Mandy said, for those RXB3s to actually interface with AAs and speak. It's public speaking and writing and stuff like that. You're writing this stuff in there, and it's being reviewed and signed by your boss's boss. So it's good for them, and it does take time, and it's kind of a pain in the neck to send it around. It'd be really great if the region bought a few DocuSign accounts that we could use, but
Yeah.
we just email it back and forth right now.
Yeah, and I know that's something we've talked about.
Yeah, I got a comment on that. I did reach out to DocuSign and had them, I met with them a couple times, and they did a full presentation to me and gave me a quote, and it was like $4,000 a year for a DocuSign account with unlimited access and envelopes, I think they call them. And I kind of, even on the MODOC, we don't have a lot of burn bosses, but we were above the threshold for dropping that down. So if it's something the region wants to consider, I mean, we could do one region wide, and you could have as many people on there as you wanted. And so yeah, just something to continue to think about.
Okay. Yeah, I know we've talked about that. We need to follow up with that and see what that cost would be. Okay, very cool. Well, thank you for that. I'll open it up, see if anybody from the audience has any questions or follow up for the group or each other, or anything they want to share. Oh, it's Scott coming back. I've heard that you're supposed to wait 7 seconds for that. Okay. Well, if there aren't any, oh, there's Rudy. All right, you saved it, right?
Yeah, I
6
thought
seconds,
I'd say
buddy.
something.
Appreciate it.
I
What's
don't
up?
really have a question or anything. I just wanted to comment that we use pretty much the same format as the Cleveland, and for the most part, it's been running pretty smooth. There's some holdouts that feel like it's we shouldn't have to go through all this extra work, but that's just the way it is. For the most part, everyone's been cool about it. And in the beginning, they were pretty long. They last 30 or 45 minutes, and now they're down to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
So it's going pretty smooth, and everyone, for the most part, is just handling it.
Yeah, there was a lot of new changes that came with this, with the drought monitoring, which I liked on the forums, and the communication I had to have it all in 24 hours and all that stuff. So certainly a lot of changes. All right. Thanks, Rudy, for coming on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's right. We'll go ahead and stop the recording.